Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. This is our second week of self-isolation, if you will. And it is raining, it is drab, it is really not very nice weather to be outside anyway. So we are home. I took a couple of days off since the Sunday live stream. And I want to talk about something that's going to take a while. Let me tell you, I will stop you right now from watching. If you already own a printer and you're already familiar with what it requires from you, okay, and you're successfully producing great prints like these. By the way, this is an aerial photograph, okay, taken with a drone such as this, the Anafi 4K from Parrot, or a camera DSLR. Prints like these are easily obtained if you enter this hobby and field with the correct attitude and at least research the very basic requirements that you will need to make this a successful adventure for you. Now, like I said, if you already do this successfully, switch over to another video right now. If you are thinking, however, about entering this hobby, regardless of whether you shoot aerial or whether you shoot still with a handheld camera, this is the video for you. I may talk you out of this. I really may. But again, I'm telling you as honestly as I can, this is a craft or hobby that requires absolute full commitment. There are a lot of pitfalls that the printer companies are not going to tell you about, okay? They're simply not going to, because they want you to buy their products. If you are a photographer who has now simply all of a sudden discovered the power of a print, such as this. This is a lot better than a digital rendition on your phone, isn't it? Or your tablet, or even your computer. Of course, something tangible you hold in your hands. Now you have two choices. Send out your images to a local lab or across the country, if you will, and hopefully they will produce a print for you that will match to a certain extent what you have on your monitor. I don't have the time right now to tell you everything you need to know. We're going to just talk about printers and what they require from you. Now, I have a picture here that I have framed. This is done on Red River San Gabriel 1.0, the original one, which was fabulous. A Barita base paper, no OBAs, and I went ahead and I did even a bit extra protection on it. After I sprayed it, I framed it under glass. I printed it on my Pro-100 using the very older Precisioncolors inks, okay? He was about, I want to say 4.5. He's now going to be 8. This has been here. There is not a bit of fading. This is not a matte, by the way. This is just printed with a border. So things like this is what you will be able to do, and you will not have to wait for days and then possibly longer if you're not satisfied with the results and you got to ask them to adjust it one way or another. Okay, so let's get into this. You want to print at home. Why? Why do you want to do that? Well, there are some advantages for doing so. Instant gratification, of course, we love that, don't we? This day and age, everybody wants instant things and instant results. And you will obtain that. Whether you are satisfied with them or not, you will know instantly, within minutes, what your output looks like, okay? So without getting into color managed workflow, which is, again, another subject altogether, we'll talk about what you need to consider when you buy a printer. First of all, what do you want out of a printer? What sort of prints are you thinking of producing? Okay, that's a big subject right there, and a huge question to ask yourself. Don't just fall for an advertisement that you just cannot pass up, an offer you just cannot avoid. No. Sit back, forget it. Put your wallet away, put your credit cards away. Don't buy anything until you have researched the living, yeah, you know what, out of it, okay? Then make your final decision and order the printer you're actually going to need. And the only way to do that is to ask yourself, well, what is the largest print that I ever want to make? What kind of papers do I ever want to print on? Do I need a dye ink printer, or do I definitely need a pigment-based printer? Well, dye printers such as the Pro-100, the EPSON family of 1400s, all the way I think up to the 1500 something, I forget what it is. Anyway, they use dyes. The advantage of dye inks is that dyes are transparent. They're more brilliant because of the transparency. So light can enter through that layer of dye on your print, bounce right back, and give you a much brighter looking result. But dye inks are not as long lasting as pigment-based inks. Now, pigment-based inks are made out of solid opaque particles of pigment. They're not going to allow the light to pass through and bounce back and give you that brilliant looking result that you would get on glossy paper on a dye ink printer. Okay, the difference is actually quite astonishing. But do you want a very, very long lasting, I mean decades worth of life out of that print? Then pigment might be the better choice, because pigment simply does not fade. Other aspects will cause it to fade, but not from light. Okay, at least not for decades. And it depends on how much light. Okay, you're not going to put it out in the sun in the middle of the equator. That's ridiculous. Anything fades under enough light. But you know what I mean. Do you want 50 years out of your print? Under glass, I can give you 200 years. Okay, it depends on the condition. So you ask yourself, what is my goal to owning that apparatus that will give me that direct instant gratification from my computer? Comes out on paper and I look at it, I go, gosh, I'm so glad I did this. Or, geez, I should have thought longer about getting a printer. I'm not satisfied with the results. You know why? Because I don't know what I'm doing yet. Okay, it's not etched in stone or black and white, no pun intended. It takes a bit of studying, a bit of learning, and a bit of a learning curve as well to be able to get consistently great results every single time. What about cost? Well, a paper such as this is Canon ProLuster. I think a box will run you like $50. You get 50 sheets, so it's $1 a sheet. Well, you can imagine you don't want to make too many mistakes, do you? If it takes me 4 tries to arrive at a point where I'm satisfied with that print, I have spent $4, not even counting ink yet. Okay, ink can be as expensive as $1.50 per milliliter of ink, and per single milliliter, I should say. And something that large, that's a 13 by 19, it will take about 2.5 to 3 milliliters of ink. So that's $1.50, that is $4.50, $1 for a sheet of paper, assuming I get it spot on the first try. Okay, that's about 6 something already that I have spent on that print. You don't have too much room for mistakes here, because soon you will go broke. That is the price you pay when you choose to print at home. The luxury that you gain, the advantages that you gain in time wasted waiting for the mail to arrive, yeah, that's what you're paying for. To have it in an hour, I have all my prints done, basically, instead of days. So printers use ink for what? Well, we think it's only for the production of prints. Have a look at this. 17 by 24, done on the Pro-1000, of a cafe scene converted to a painting in Photoshop when they used to have that artistic plugin. It doesn't anymore, sadly, but there are other third-party plugins that will allow you to achieve that sort of look. Something like that would cost me possibly, $20 to have printed, because it is a custom paper and it's really done under full color managed workflow. That's not your local drugstore type print, okay? So yeah, something like that, the only way you're going to achieve it is having a printer set up at your home and not having to go outside. So I used all of my valuable ink, possibly about 4 to 5 milliliters of ink total, to print that photograph. I could easily sell that for $50, $60, maybe more. Okay, so I will make up my money that I used up on media and ink readily. But what if you're not selling? What if you're just doing this for pleasure? Then you're swallowing all your costs. Now, the amount of ink that I use to lay that image on that piece of paper is only part of the game. Ink is also used for cleaning cycles. And the reason cleaning cycles have to be done is because the printhead needs to be maintained always clear. Okay? And this ink, for instance, is made of particles of pigment floating happily in a liquid clear media. Sometimes those particles get stuck. Sometimes you don't use your printer enough and you begin to dry a little bit and you clog your nozzles. There is no other fluid in the printer but inks. So inks are used for cleaning cycles. So you might think, well, you know what? Gosh, I just won't print this month and I'll save money by not printing. Wrong. You will not save money. You will be wasting even more money because the next time you try to print, on an Epson, for instance, you might have a clogged printhead, and it might require 2 to 3 cleaning cycles to unclog it so that it gives you a clear nozzle check. And now you know your printer nozzles, all of them, not even one is left behind. All of them are clear. Well, you just wasted a ton of ink, a lot more than I used to create that print with. So now we're talking about possibly in that 1 month I created 1 print. I used 5 milliliters of ink total. Maybe I wasted about a total of 20 performing those cleaning cycles. You see what I mean? Your waste versus ink on paper ratio, that doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, you see what I'm saying? Now, what if you choose to buy a Canon printer? Oh boy, this puppy right here. People are realizing the level of commitment you need. This is a Pro 1000 or Pro 2000, 4000, 6000, or the new 2100 or 4100. They're all the same. They all react the same and behave the same. Let me give you a little bit of a preview of what you are to expect when you own this printer. Sure, you can make gorgeous prints like this on whatever media you choose to print on, whether it is canvas, any of the fine art, gorgeous stock out there, which is also costly, by the way, or just regular glossy, cheaper RC resin-coated media. It will do a fabulous job on it. The transport mechanism is amazing. It has internal calibration, so you can bring this printer's output to factory standards. Okay, that's important. And no other printer out there has that capability. Epson's don't. This one does. But here's the thing. If you choose not to print often, okay, every time you print, it will be preceded by a cleaning cycle. Even if you do print often, as you are printing a big, large job, because this printhead is thermally operated. It heats the ink instead of just pressurizing the ink and spitting it out like an Epson printer does with a cold firing printhead. This uses a thermal printhead. Each droplet of ink is basically boiled and then splattered on the paper. It's not a clean little circle dot. It's more of a crenated edge dot. Okay? It requires heat. Heat is the enemy of this printhead. Heat will ultimately destroy the printhead. So in reality, a Canon printer is self-destructing itself every time you print. Oh, shock. Yes. So say I am printing 50 large prints. Remember those time cleaning cycles we were talking about? That still applies, but there's another factor that will come into play. As you are printing on this printer, because you're using heat, it's like making grilled cheese sandwiches on a skillet. You make that first one. When you remove the sandwich, you see some residue left behind. There's always residue being built up just from the process of printing. And that residue builds up to a certain level. The printhead says, hey, I'm getting a little bit dirty here. Please clean me out. So sometime along that 50 print job, you're going to get a preemptive cleaning cycle to flush out all that residue. So you maintain the printhead at a relatively clean condition. Residue slows down ink flow, Slow ink flow creates heat, and the ink is the only thing that keeps the printhead cool, or at least at operating optimal temperatures. You see what I mean? So there is a very important balance that you need to maintain here. So I'm printing 50 large prints like those right there, and maybe after the 10th one, it will run a cleaning cycle. And maybe the next 10 will generate another one. By the time I'm done with 50, I have ran 5 cleaning cycles. And then a day passes and I pass by 60 hours, it will run another cleaning cycle the next time I try to print something. So it will waste ink because it needs to run the cleaning cycles. Don't ask me to explain it any different way. This printer will run cleaning cycles, whether you use it or whether you do not use it often. The idea, because you're going to have to use ink anyway, okay? You're going to have to use ink anyway. You pay a little bit less than $1 per milliliter of ink. So what would you prefer to do with that ink? Create prints or just maintain your printhead? That's a lot of dollars being used just to maintain the printhead. So I might as well use that ink to create prints. How many? As many as it takes to make sure that your ratio of ink on prints is higher than the ratio of ink being used for cleaning cycles. You get what I mean? Recently, a person just posted a very, very detailed report. He is wasting 4 times more ink than he puts on paper. That is ridiculous. You might say, oh, this blankety blank printer is stealing my money. No, you knew that from the very beginning. And if you did not know, maybe it's because you haven't watched my videos. But now you know. You buy this printer, you better generate a lot of prints. Because I can make, say, 10 prints before this thing will generate a cleaning cycle. At $50 a pop, that's $500. If I only print one time, and then I waste 60 hours or more, whether I built up residue or not, the other factor comes into play, that timed cleaning cycle. I will run another cleaning cycle. And I might be making a little print, which uses very little ink. So I will waste more ink on a cleaning cycle than I will on the creation of that print, because it's smaller, and of course it requires a lot less volume of ink to create it. You see? So I'll leave you with this. Think extremely hard. Don't come back crying and complaining about, oh my gosh, I can't afford to. No, you already knew that. This is not a game for the weak of stomach, if you will. This requires full commitment. If you're going to buy something that's $1,300, okay, like this printer right here, be ready to put it to use, producing lots and lots and lots of prints. If you're not selling your prints, I would not recommend you get this printer unless you have money, unless you're, well off. Then you can afford the luxury of having this printer. Okay, Jose, how come you have it? Well, I run a printer channel and I have to have this model so that I can answer all of your questions and help you make a choice either for or against the purchase of something like this, or something like the P800, or something like the Pro-100, Pro-10, Pro-1, you name it. So again, printers are a commitment. Okay, think of it as a relationship between you and this piece of electronic wizardry. It is really an amazing piece of tech. Okay, if you really thought about what happens internally, you would have to sit down and just, to have a drink and take a deep breath, because it's simply amazing that this printer, just simply laying down little dots of ink, can produce something like this or like that. Okay, so I'll leave you with this last little note. Yeah, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if you open up the printer, set it up, and you realize a couple of months later that, oh gosh, I can't afford to use this printer. Not affording to use this printer means that you really should not have that printer. Okay, that's a hard pill to swallow. Okay, and if I was not doing any of this channel work, I would have only maybe 1 or 2 at the most. I love to print. So that would be, you know, I would have to pay for that luxury of me being able to print my images here at home. That's it. I hope this didn't come across too harsh, but believe me, this is a wake-up call for anyone who wants to get into this hobby or craft, or even if you do it professionally. You better have enough work to warrant the use and operation of one of these instruments, and it requires commitment. All right. Sorry. I hope you guys don't leave me now, okay? After this, it is as honest as I can make it for you. All right? Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and when you do so, please click on the bell and then tell it to let you know when there is another upload. I'm up to 30,000 subscribers, but every time I upload something, it only gets about 50 views. How could that be? Out of 30,000? Yeah, make sure that you go back. If you haven't already done so, go back and click on that announcement or notification bell and tell it to notify you every time. That way you don't miss any of our new uploads. All right, thank you so much. Happy printing, everybody, I hope. Bye-bye.